for this game. We can say there are quite a number of specific positions which were very important, but it does not feel as if from an objective or third party perspective, the actual position merited victory for either player, because while we were playing it became quite apparent that both myself and the opponent chose specific variations which could have either cost us the game, gained us the victory, or changed the overall trend of the type of exchange, of the type of attack or development setup chosen to favor either side. And beyond very convoluted sentences, we will have to proceed and look at exactly what happened so far. After going through these moves fairly quickly, we should preferably also go down the route less traveled by being somewhat more critical than perhaps needs be, but we can see fairly early on standard Sicilian Tamanov with the bishop e2, bishop e3, modern setup, black. There's nothing surprising going on here, and white is preparing to castle, of course. Get the queen on d2, maybe f4, bring the rooks out. With black on the other hand, we're trying to attack the center. Now, interesting here, of course, is that with the attack like this, you try to get to castle king on the queen side, but my opponent goes for the setup, and I think actually first queen d3, so it's like a sideline of the modern attack, which is not as common. And if you want to gain a decisive advantage as white, you definitely, I think if I remember correctly, need to castle queenside as early as possible. Let's see, the game continues. Knight f6, castles, bishop e4. But let's just see if bishop e2, knight f6, queen d2, second most common move apparently, on lead chess at least. Okay, bishop e4, f3 I guess, just following the database, d5. Okay, castling queenside is not that common. 407 games, but okay, let's capture. Of course, black's plan at this point is to make it less than interesting to castle queenside. Now again, I don't remember the theory exactly. when you are supposed to castle queenside. But it's something that I haven't, I think, played against too often. So moving away from that, going back to the initial position. Bishop f4, f3. You can see maybe a dubious move. I'm not sure. Probably because it gives black the initiative. Now b5, d5 are available moves, but in practice, as you can see, most common is actually to castle queenside. Sorry, castle kingside for black, capturing the knight on c3, then d5, then b4. So I don't think it's immediately apparent how exactly you're supposed to proceed from a practical standpoint if you quickly look at the games. I mean, 18,000 games compared to 4,982. Significant difference. But I play b5, which gives white a target. Maybe that's why I play queen d3, I'm not sure. But after b5, I want to develop my bishop. I'm trying to perhaps prepare c4 for knight maneuver. Also, maybe you will make this kind of mistake of capturing twice, trying to get a knight to d6. And I know it's a very stupid trap or pitfall. However, in a few 1-minute games, white has tried this route, but I didn't think it was such a bad move because I missed a4, which clearly immediately attacks. And you can see white is not scoring poorly, but you'll have to analyze, you know, knight takes or rook takes. And then the whole point of having played b5 was not to allow white to perhaps have some more influence, because you can imagine exchanging these and then definitely having good control here in the center. Well, at least, let's say, extra activity that is uncalled for. Let's continue. Queen d3. Oh yeah, queen d3. Question mark perhaps, because you're allowing my next move. Knight e5. And then I can just jump to c4, attacking these things. The b2 pawn, e3 bishop. And the dark square bishop is of course very important in this position for white. So many pawns on light squares, meaning a lot of black or dark square weaknesses. Yeah, okay, queen d3. Again, you know, you play normal looking move for castles. He attacks the bishop. Now I was also thinking about bishop d6 instead of just bishop d7, no, e7. But you know, putting a bishop there kind of asks, perhaps you can get away with something like this. Okay, bishop takes check, king moves. Maybe you take, come back. Is there initiative? Maybe not. What happens after f4? Let's see. Because again, f4. Maybe. d5. Okay. always making it very clear that there's a way to exploit this. And of course, if you now see something like this happen, then it should not end well. And as you can see. So beyond just this very quick variation, which I haven't looked at all, I just play bishop e7, standard move, keeping this open, removing a lot of the tactical calculations you have to make here, which is difficult in rapid time control. Also allowing this pawn to advance easily and preventing just a quick exchange if that has to happen. But I don't know, let's see how long the opening continues for. Rook c1 I thought was very passive. You can definitely see afterwards rook f1, rook a1, maybe f4, I'm not sure. But definitely I was expecting rook a1. Looking down the d-file, and again, perhaps helping out. Center development, center occupation, but yeah, rook c1, rook ac1 is going to take a lot of time for white to actually get initiative, because I don't think he's ever going to move this pawn. It's too easy for me to look at c4. Again, a possible benefit of having played b5. So, rook a1, knight e5, and knight e5. No, it's just me who played it. So it's a novelty according to the database. Knight e5, you attack the exposed queen. Queen goes back now. Here's definitely where you start seeing I'm not quite appreciating the fact that I'm not developed in this Sicilian variation, so I definitely have to look at this more often. But we have bishop e7 to help develop and keep an eye on d5. The pin is not a problem. The attack is not a problem. I think, if queen d2, bishop b5, f4, I think the whole point is going to be knight f5, knight c4, and then he wants to exchange. You take. This pawn's weak. So I think this position, but I'm not sure. So if f4, yeah, knight c4, bishop, queen, I mean, it's getting in nasty territory, I think. Weakness. This alignment is not right. Yeah. Well, obviously you can analyze with the engine, but point stands that it's not practical to play like this in a 10-minute game. Knight f4, he captures. Now I've more or less personally achieved, I think, what I want. I need to catch up with my development. d6, d5 at some point. Rooks to the center. And then black should be having a very decent Sicilian position with no problems at all. But we see bishop e7, knight b3, which I actually thought was interesting. Knight a5, forking the queen and the bishop, when the whole strategy has been to keep white at bay in this sideline, I think, of the English attack. but I'm not sure if knight a5 really is something to worry about. Of course, this bishop d8. What I played, yeah. Queen c7. Bishop f4 might have the added interest to lure e5, weakening f5, d5, but I'm not sure. After bishop e3 or bishop g5, there's nothing. But after bishop e3, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. It's probably not a good idea. Again, practically speaking, I just don't like thinking about having, in essence, a type of Benoni structure when white has so many pieces focusing there, but you have to play, you know. Because, okay, I mean, I play Sicilian Taimanov, I don't play Shevesnikov or the more modern approaches to this Sicilian type of position. So to play stuff like d5 makes sense, but to play these kind of ideas with a pawn on e6, not e5. So more classical Sicilian, almost like a Rui Lopez, Breyer variation, maybe. Not clear. 92. I don't know what this is. Does he want to help his knight or queen to get to a5? Apparently. I play d6. Again, not committing to d5. Why not? Who knows? Queen a5. I allowed the exchange. He wastes some time. And the computer came up with the interesting queen b8 to queen a7 again. Looking to play d5 while white is kind of disorganized, you know. And the queen is going to do this dance. The knight is going to do this dance. I don't know why c4. Such an important square today. Today, at least at time of recording. But while I was playing again, c4, I wasn't even actually thinking about it on that meta or abstract level. I was actually thinking about attacking the knight, not realizing. Easy to defend, to move to d4, f4. I thought I'm winning some time, maybe exchanging the queens and then having these two files open, but didn't happen. Almost got my queen trapped. He retreats, apparently to the wrong square, but what can you do? And I've noticed in a Taimanov there are these interesting knight maneuvers from f6 to d7. Well, there are typical b8 to c6 to e5 to c4 ideas. Knight c3. Yeah, I thought my queen's almost trapped, but that is why actually I played a knight d6 to attack the bishop. I get a move to take advantage of this diagonal, which is going to be very important at the end of the day, especially if you want to have any control over the center. So that's why this bishop move was not good. It exploits the odd positioning going on, the development on the queen side. White's pieces are always basically just like stepping on each other, it seems. Queen c4, probably only move. bishop f5, queen c5, threatening to bend to skewer the knight. Okay, king h1. Here comes the knight, and again looking to fork these pieces, which is quite fun. Knight b3. What else? His pawns, his pieces are perpetually weak, so if you like place b3, maybe you just take, and then everything is basically x-rayed and his position cracks. I think knight b3, queen a7, but not going to play queen a8. Just getting my queen out of the way. Knight c4. Important lesson that you only learn when you analyze afterwards, but I had this idea that exchanging is not smart. I mean, there's nothing you can do here. Coming to e3, you can defend this way. There's no special tactics, but I was too lazy, didn't calculate properly. So bishop f6 again, x-raying b2, looking at his after exchange, and then maybe I win a pawn, and then it would be knight with a bishop, but again, didn't happen. d5, I really should improve it. So many games where I just miss d5 completely. Maybe I haven't focused enough on pawn breaks in the Sicilian time off. But okay, g6, because before I do anything too much, maybe before I play d5, I just practically want some space open. Luft for the king. Okay, and maybe h6 is better, if that was the idea, because the bishop, but maybe the bishop gets exchanged, you know, so let's see. g6 gives it like this, minus 0.6, minus 0.8. Again, if you don't play d5, you don't get the concept of this position. Bishop e4, which is why I'm saying, like, if this doesn't work with any of these x-rays because of the rook, then definitely you don't have much of an advantage. Rook fd8, knight a5, knight exchange, rook d7, bishop takes, and apparently eventually I understand that you need this exchange. And the game proceeds in this way for quite a while. Nothing too exciting happening here. At this point I just knew it was a draw, even though the computer says it's better. I don't think it can be. All these pawns are supported, can be defended by the bishop. He has no targets, and if I move this, he has some targets. So that's what happens. But his king is actually very active. Active king in the endgame. Would have won white this. And again, it's all on the doc squiz, which I don't have any access to, which is a definite problem. Having these pawns set up on these light squares. just can't do too much. But there was a way to defend, so conceptually I understood it, but I didn't execute. And this move definitely. For a while I was thinking, a few moves before, like I think during the game already, I was thinking if his king gets here, is there a way to have the kings look at each other without me having to move? Is there a way to gain the opposition without losing, as if it was a pawn, king and pawn endgame basically? But either way, there was, so let's just see what happens. This is a nice setup to have. Too many pawns, you know, while also looking at white's king side. And I think the defensive setup basically is you keep this square occupied by the white's bishop, and then you can just move like this if he moves away. So you see what happens. You attack, and then the line would continue with bishop d6, and what is it again? Bishop d6. Let's just see. Bishop d6. Ah, it's this crazy thing. I thought maybe, you know, you come back and whatever, but there's clearly no time. White is the one who can wait. And look, Zugzwang. Like, this is not how you're gonna do it. Too passive. So apparently you have to prevent, well, how to phrase it, not prevent so much, but exploit these white squares, which I don't understand. Even now, a few days later, next day, 2 days ago, even now, I really don't get it. Like, I understand it's necessary, but I doubt I would be able to apply any of the skills required if I had to simply recreate this position. It's not knowledge. Bishop c6. You have to capture there. There's nothing else you can do. He's trying to weaken and restrict your movement further. Just gaining some time, getting this set up. Not noticing what's going to happen with these pawns. Again, not maintaining the best defensive setup. But bishop c6, king b4, and this continues, and I misunderstood what was happening here. With bishop coming back, yes, a square for his king. I can't move here because he's going to check. When I move, he's going to bring his king. When I attack, he can actually just capture, and then he's winning the game. When I do this and he captures, his pawns are probably too weak. I think when I move here as well and he captures with the king, I'm probably fine as well. I can come up. So let's say no, it's probably not so obvious, but you have to stay active. Maybe I'll make a separate video, but I really don't remember most of the lines, and I didn't see it. It's like I'm a move behind this whole endgame, since his king infiltrated on the dark squares. But he checks me, he starts winning the game, and then he's not winning. Coming in too quickly, while he still has these weaknesses, right? So I exploit him. I bring my bishop here, so that I can still get my king in close, and that's the only way to draw. Yeah, I thought I was winning, but I quickly realized after a few more moves, because low time, I have to break open. Otherwise, I cannot stop the pawn and stop him from coming back and grabbing this pawn. This pawn is too slow. He will win simultaneously. What does this move? You see, you have to be very quick. And that's how he wins. But that is not what happened. I thought I used this pawn to distract, and I grabbed this one. Again, important move. You attack the bishop, but you still need to move this pawn to distract the king, and then you can come in here. And still, somehow, bishop c3, and the game is a draw. It's crazy. How can you win at chess when nothing works? But it was such a time scramble at this point. Less than 10 seconds each. I mean, that's impossible. No way. No possible way. And so the game concludes. I win. And it makes no sense. It really just makes no sense. I should definitely include more variations, not just perhaps this way of talking, but it gives you the impression that even though maybe I understood some things, a lot of my ideas were not based in good concrete lines, just maybe too strategic, too often based on piece placement in this abstract sense. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please comment down below any suggestions, any of your own ideas, any criticism. Everything is appreciated. See you next time.